Hello, everybody. Welcome to District 5 and the Irving Convention Center for this town hall. My name is Mark Cronenwett. I'm the city council member that represents this district, and also I represent the PUD 6 development area, which is at issue for us tonight. Thank you all for coming. I want to acknowledge some of our city representatives who are here today in attendance. Well, first of all, we have State Representative Terry Mesa. I saw that she came in. Terry's here. And in attendance from the City Council, we have our Mayor, Rick Stouffer. Some City Council members are here. Councilman Brad Lamorges, Al Zapanta, and Luis Canosa, I see are here. John Block snuck in over here on the side, so separate applause for Councilman Block, please. It was his birthday yesterday, so it's very much deserved. I also see we have in attendance our city manager, Chris Hillman, and deputy city manager, Orlando Sanchez. They deserve a round of applause, too, for all the work they do for us. Some P&Z commissioners, Terry Pritchard is here. Ricky Lightfoot is there in the back. Appreciate all the work they're doing to look at this project. Applause for them, please. And my predecessor, Oscar Ward, is sitting here in front. So Oscar Ward served as your representative for District 5 for 9 years until I took over a couple years ago. And there are others out here too. The people are coming in, so I apologize for missing you, but it's great to see our representatives and city officials here today supporting this event, which is really for the benefit of our residents. I am considered the sponsor for this event, but of course it would not take place without the hard work and dedication of our director for the Irving Chamber of Commerce, Beth Bowman, who is here. She's in the back. And she's the president and CEO of the Irving Chamber of Commerce, and Maura Gass, the director of the Irving Convention and Visitors Bureau. Maura's here too. So, I wanted to say that while there's currently no specific direct project plan the council is considering, I have asked the Sands Corporation to be here to provide this opportunity for our residents to hear directly from them here in the district where this potential project will be built. I just want to say too that please be respectful in asking your questions. They'll be done in a written format. And I know that there's a lot of expectation that people, because it's a town hall, will be able to make public statements. We've had a little bit of that opportunity in the past, last week at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and there'll be a P&Z meeting on Monday of next week and City Council on Thursday. But this is the first opportunity for representatives of the Sands Corporation to be here and speak directly to you. And so the idea is for this to be an educational and informative opportunity for everybody, and then also along the lines of information and education for people to be able to ask questions directly of the developer and get responses to that. To try to do everything all at once is not possible. For one thing, we have 3 hours here tonight because this space has been reserved by a tenant that they need to use tomorrow, and we'll be making changes to it tonight to get it prepared. So with the amount of time that we have, the limitations that we have, we're going to try to focus on the presentation about what the Sands has in mind for PUD 6 and to allow Q&A. If we have more time, if we go through all the questions, not very likely, but if we do, then we can have some public statements. But please know that there will be opportunities in the very near future, Monday and Thursday of next week, for everybody to make public statements with the developer in attendance at those meetings. Now, I want to go back to the 27th of February when the City Council in its work session, a consensus of the council decided to move forward with working with the Sands to see what can be brought to PUD 6. Please know that the city has a vision for PUD 6 for a premier development to occur in that space. It's what we've wanted ever since the Cowboys left, and we're very hopeful that this is what that can be. Now, Will it be all that? I mean, obviously people have a lot of concerns. I see all the signs and people have expressed a lot of their concerns online. But the idea for the 27th was to move forward with the process to look at an examination of what the project might be, to hear from the developer, for council to be educated on all the issues that need to be taken into account for development such as this, and for citizens obviously to have an opportunity to voice their concerns, ask their questions, and get answers to those questions. And so, obviously, as I mentioned before, that started at the P&Z meeting last week. We had, I think, 39 or 40 people come in and make public statements, which was fantastic. Obviously, our city is strengthened by having an engaged electorate who comes in and voices their opinions. And we as representatives, of course, are responsible to respond to those concerns. And then this is the next step in the process. This is really, obviously, this is the first time for the citizens to be able to hear directly from the developer. So I'm very honored to be able to be considered a host for this event, for that to occur. Now, so going into the format a little bit, there are comment forms and pens on your seats and extras at the front desk. All your questions and comments must be submitted in writing, and you must include your name, street address, and zip code on the forms. Those are the city's rules. We have those rules in place for whenever somebody addresses us at one of our public meetings. Beth Bowman, who I just pointed out to you before in the back, and Maura Gast over here, will be coming around to pick up those cards, and so that they can be given to myself and Councilman Bradley Morges, so that we can ask those questions of the Sands representative when he comes up. To make best use of our time, we'll try to group the questions by category to try to give a little organization to the process so we don't just bounce around from one topic to the other, and to try to get the best answers we can for everybody, and so that everybody can get those questions asked. We'll try to avoid repetitive questions to make the most efficient use of our time. Please note that all comments will be submitted for the record. This is a public event, and the comments, the questions you write on those cards will be part of our public records. So on the screen now, too, you can see additional ways for you to contact the City Council or the Planning and Zoning Commission with your comments and questions after this evening. Again, this is the first opportunity to hear directly from the developer, and so we want to focus on that for you all to take advantage of that. But a lot of you may have questions for the City Council and for P&Z. You can use that QR code to get a link then to submit those questions to us. If some of your questions touch on some other issues that have been presented in the social media, such as fire, traffic, police, we have representatives from those departments here that can maybe come in and answer some of those questions if they come up. All right, so for context, I wanted to show this map of the city's PUD 6 district. Highlighted on these maps is Tract A, the Village Walk 2 property. Village Walk 2 is an LLC that is, for which the Sands, Las Vegas Sands, is the principal owner. Now, that is the focus of the discussion tonight and the proposed zoning changes for PUD 6. To start tonight's presentation, I'd like to introduce Andy Aboud, Senior Vice President of Government Relations for the Las Vegas Sands Corporation. Let me give a little background about Mr. Aboud. He's a founding team member, serving the company since 1998, possessing some of the most diverse, wide-ranging political experience in the hospitality industry. His duties include managing the political and governmental affairs for the Las Vegas Sands and the Adelson family, along with aiding and assisting in the company's expansion efforts and development projects. Andy's a graduate of the University of Nebraska at Lincoln with a bachelor's degree in economics. He began his career working on local, state, and federal campaigns in the late 80s. Shortly thereafter, he came to the great state of Texas, serving as executive director of the Republican Party for Harris County. While in Texas, Andy served on the City of Houston Site Selection Committee in their successful bid to land the 1992 Republican National Convention. Following that, Andy returned to his home state of Nebraska, where he worked on the Republican National Committee's victory campaign, several state, local, and federal campaigns, as well as serving as the executive director of the Douglas County and Nebraska Republican Party organizations. He has been instrumental in instituting the Las Vegas Sands Corporation's political and community development activities, along with helping to ensure the Las Vegas Sands properties continue to set the industry standards. Aboud oversees the company's political and governmental relations efforts in Washington, D.C., Carson City, Beijing, and other capitals around the world. He led the company's campaign to obtain a gaming license in Pennsylvania, spearheading a proposal to develop the former Bethlehem Steel property into a mixed-use resort. He continues to provide leadership for the company's expansion, opportunities in other jurisdictions within the United States and abroad. Andy has been at the forefront of several of the company's political and community initiatives, including the creation and development of the SANS Responsible Gaming Program. In the development of this program, he facilitated a partnership with the Harvard University Medical School and Cambridge Health Alliance Division on Addictions to develop cutting-edge training curricula for all team members, establishing the SANS as the foremost leader in responsible gaming in the world. Andy has also organized the charitable arm of the Las Vegas Sands 501c3 charitable organization, the Sands Foundation. This foundation has distributed millions of dollars in charitable donations to thousands of organizations and individuals in need throughout Southern Nevada and the world, focusing on youth, health, and education. In recent years, he has helped facilitate Dr. Miriam and Sheldon Adelson's program to bring wounded warriors and their families to Las Vegas for VIP treatment as a show of gratitude for their services to our country. He's active in several civic and charitable organizations, previously sitting on the board of directors for the Problem Gambling Center in the United States Chamber of Commerce. He currently serves on the board of directors of the Las Vegas Sands Political Action Committee, the Keystone Corporation, the Nevada Resort Association, and serves on the board of trustees of the UNLV Foundation, as well as on the board of trustees for the University of Nebraska Foundation. In addition to board seats, he serves on the Public Affairs Council for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the U.S. Brazil Council at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and the Government Affairs Committee for the American Gaming Association. In 2006, he was a special honoree of the annual Spread the Word Nevada Storybook Gala, and in 2010, he was Keystone Corporation's honoree, receiving their Keystone Corp's Economic Freedom Award. Please join me in welcoming Andy Aboud. Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate it. Again, I'll remind you of my comments that I made earlier. Please maintain decorum. We are here to hear from the developer and hear what he has to say. We're not here to have booze and to interrupt him. So this is an educational opportunity. Please listen to what he has to say, and please be respectful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman. And it's an honor to be here as a lifelong Nebraskan and a Cornhusker fan. Go Big Red. I'm so excited to see so many people greet me here wearing red today. I assume you're all on my side and not here just to support the Cornhuskers. So it's exciting to be here. What a wonderful coordinated wardrobe effort this has been. I'm here today well ahead of any opportunity there will ever be to put a shovel in the ground for any casino in Irving. As you may or may not know, and I don't think a lot of people know, that casino gambling is not legal in Texas, although Texas is the largest illegal gaming market in the world. Unregulated, unchecked, no support mechanisms for problem gaming, no regulation, no rules, nothing at all. So I'm here today to talk about a lot of things. Hopefully we'll be members of your community, potentially, with a multi-billion-dollar investment. So I'm going to tell you about our company, our background, our founders, what we build, what our work ethic is, what our employment ethic is, and what we could potentially bring to the city of Irving and to the state of Texas by way of introducing things we've done in other parts of the world. I'll probably hopefully debunk, some ideas of what think casinos are and what a destination resort is. I'm going to define the differences between a regional casino, which you have across the border in Oklahoma, and what a destination resort can be. I'm going to demonstrate for you what a proper regulatory environment can mean to the state of Texas to keep the citizens safe, and the economic opportunity and visitation and increased tourism that the legalization of a limited number of destination resorts would bring to Texas. But in order to do that, and then I enjoy the question and answers the most. It's very important that you have the opportunity to know us very well. This will be the first of dozens of town hall meetings. We'll be meeting with our opponents. We'll be meeting with the people that are for us. We'll be engaging in the community. If we go forward, we will be here full-time for the next few years, making sure that the residents of Irving will be comfortable with what it is we can bring to the city of Irving. It is a commitment that is in the DNA of my company, within the DNA of our board of directors, most importantly, in the DNA of the family with which I work. So I'm going to start out with a little background on our company. I think it's a good presentation. It's a little bit lengthy. I want to get to the Q&A about our founder, Sheldon Adelson. I'll tell you a little bit show you some pictures of the things we built so that you understand this is not a big casino-centric thing we're going to build, that it's going to have all kinds of other attractions and things that people are going to be able to do that have nothing to do with a casino, because we're not a casino-centric company. We're a tourism and visitation driver. So, well, you'll demonstrate it. And of course, yes, of course we have casinos, but you know what? You have 65,000 illegal slot machines in Texas today that nobody's doing anything about. And that's where we all need to galvanize and work together to get that shut down. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a little video background of our company, and then I'll walk you through what we hope to do someday.
I've been in 50 different businesses. I started when I was 12 years old. I've learned to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a risk taker.
A true entrepreneur, Sheldon Adelson began his career selling newspapers on the streets of Boston. He would find fortune through a myriad of businesses, leading to the founding of the technology industry's first computer trade show, Comdex, in 1979. Through Comdex, Mr. Adelson built a powerhouse in the conventions industry, allowing him to take a gamble on a new endeavor. In 1989, he purchased the Sands Hotel and Casino and formed Las Vegas Sands. Shortly thereafter, Las Vegas Sands constructed the world's first privately owned convention center, Sands Expo Center, the second largest convention center in the world at the time. What came next would change the city of Las Vegas, the meeting and convention market, and the hospitality industry forever. May 3rd, 1999 marked the birth of the hospitality industry's first true integrated resort with the opening of the Venetian, the first all-suite hotel on the Las Vegas Strip, and the culmination of Sheldon Adelson's integrated resort vision. Connected to Sands Expo Center, the Venetian offered high-value meeting spaces with entertainment and leisure options all under one roof, for the first time anywhere. It was this innovation that transformed Las Vegas from a weekend gambling getaway to an exciting destination with something for everyone, from midweek business clientele to leisure travelers, making Las Vegas the #1 meeting and convention destination in the world and a premier destination for all travelers. But the vision does not end there. On the other side of the globe, the world's next major resort and travel mecca was beginning to bud, Macau, China.
Today is the beginning of a new era for Macau. We pledge to you that we're going to do our part in making Macau the best that it can be.
In 2004, Las Vegas Sands officially entered Macau with the opening of Sands Macau, the first Las Vegas-style casino in the region. It was a triumph and an anchor for future expansion. Mr. Adelson's integrated resort vision continued progressing with the opening of the Venetian Macau in 2007, the first fully integrated resort in China. Twice the footprint of its Las Vegas counterpart, the Venetian Macau offers 3,000 suites and one of the largest meeting and convention spaces in Asia, as well as the 15,000-seat Cotai Arena. The opening of the Venetian Macau also marked the beginning of the Cotai Strip.
When I first got the vision, I actually, believe it or not, got the idea in a dream.
Created through a major land reclamation project between the islands of Koh Latan and Taipa in Macau, the Cotai Strip is the embodiment of Mr. Adelson's vision to recreate the Las Vegas Strip in Asia. He and Las Vegas Sands would further manifest that vision in 2008, with the addition of the Plaza Macau Four Seasons Macau, importantly bringing a signature international luxury brand to the Cotai Strip. While development continued on the Cotai Strip, Las Vegas Sands continued its expansion in Las Vegas by erecting another Italian-inspired masterpiece, the Palazzo. Connected to the Venetian, the Palazzo stands 35 stories tall, a beacon to visitors in a city of light. Singapore would be the next beneficiary of Las Vegas Sands' continued growth with the unveiling of its first integrated resort, Marina Bay Sands. An architectural icon on Singapore's bayfront with 3 hotel towers reaching 55 stories, Marina Bay Sands is crowned with a sky park measuring nearly 2.5 acres and offering sweeping views of Marina Bay and downtown Singapore. Back in the United States, Las Vegas Sands next gave new life to the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania by opening Sands Bethlehem on the site of what was the iconic Bethlehem Steel Plant. Sands Cotai Central then opened on April 11, 2012, by bringing 3 hotel chains together, Holiday Inn, Conrad, and Sheraton. Las Vegas Sands had engineered a resort city, the pinnacle of which would come in 2016 with the opening of the Parisian Macau, marking another major milestone in the company's efforts to support Macau's development as a world center of tourism and leisure. The Parisian was inspired by the magic and wonder of the famed City of Light, and prominently features a skyline redefining, half-scale authentic recreation of the Eiffel Tower. The latest premier integrated resort in the Las Vegas Sands portfolio features 3,000 guest rooms and suites, convention and meeting space, international restaurants, retail shops reminiscent of the streets of Paris, and a 1,200-seat theater, among other amenities. Sheldon Adelson's vision and determination led Las Vegas Sands to the top of the hospitality industry and to become a major financial performer. Annually ranking among the top companies based in the United States, Las Vegas Sands has maintained the largest market cap in the hospitality and gaming industry and perennially delivers strong shareholder returns as it continues to grow with ample liquidity for future expansion. While Las Vegas Sands' climb to the top has been a remarkable hospitality industry and business success story, the company has remained committed to the values of its founder, Mr. Adelson, with unwavering support for its people and the communities it serves. This philosophy of service and leadership is practiced through Sands Cares, Las Vegas Sands' global corporate citizenship program. Sands Cares integrates the company's corporate social responsibility platform worldwide, focusing on people, the planet, and communities, and executes the company's investments in philanthropy, team member volunteerism, and in-kind support. Las Vegas Sands also has led in sustainable practices to reduce the company's ecological footprint through the Sands Eco 360 initiative, which has earned the company numerous green certifications and industry accolades. Through Sheldon Adelson's unwavering vision and leadership, Las Vegas Sands has built a hospitality industry empire on the foundation of innovation, integrity, service excellence, and determination. With high-performing, high-impact integrated resort destinations around the world, the sun never sets on Las Vegas Sands.
I've worked for the Adelson family and Las Vegas Sands for just over 27 years. Mr. Adelson passed away in 2021 at the very end of COVID. I have to say, one of the most remarkable philanthropists and people in the world. Remember in 2020 when COVID came and the world was shutting down and Vegas was shut down and the world was shut down and everything shut down and everybody was laying off people. 2-year time span where many of our properties were basically non-functioning and non-open. 65,000 employees in the world, Sheldon Adelson and Miriam Adelson, kept employed the entire time with full pay and full benefits when the world had shut down because of COVID. Boards of directors, other people came and said this is not good for the bottom line. He said, I grew up 12 years old, I had no money, I'm a billionaire, what good am I if I don't care of my employees? You don't understand what it's like to not have health care, you don't know what it's like to not have food on the table. I'm not going to be at the end of my life and be in a position where I'm going to put other people in the position I was in when I grew up. And so when we had his service after he passed away, he's a prominent man, he's prominent in politics, he could have had kings and royalty and elected officials and famous people at his service. We had a very simple service in our building in Las Vegas, and his service was basically all of our team members standing up, talking about what an impact he had on their life, that keeping them employed with pay and benefits during COVID literally saved their lives, saved their spouse's life, because he is so committed to great pay and great benefits. We were well noted that we always had the highest pay and benefits on the Las Vegas Strip, so all of us are very thankful for what Mr. Adelson meant to our family. After he passed away, Rob Goldstein in the middle here became the CEO. On the right is Patrick Dumont, our COO, and then Dr. Miriam Adelson is his widow. Miriam's story is as remarkable as Sheldon's. She was, her mother in 1939, living in Poland, saw the rise of Hitler and told the entire family, we need to get out. And she's the only one that left to what is now the British-controlled part of Palestine in 1939. She is the only family member that survived the Holocaust. Miriam was born in 1945, served in the Israeli military, became a medical doctor, and worked in the emergency room. In that time frame, when she was working in the emergency room in Tel Aviv, she would see the connection of people that would come in, the connection between HIV and heroin, and that's when she became passionate about finding out the cures, the sources of addiction and fighting addiction. So she went to Rockefeller University, where she studied addiction. Israeli doctors don't make a lot of money, and that's where she met her husband, Sheldon. They met, they married, they had a wonderful relationship, marriage of 30 years. She has 2 drug rehab clinics, one in Tel Aviv, one in Israel. She only takes women who are pregnant and are homeless, and she deals with that full time. They also have a medical research foundation that they fund with hundreds of millions of dollars, partnering with many universities all across the world, some right here in Texas, using their money and their resources to seek to cure to incurable diseases. She is a remarkable philanthropist. She is in Israel now. She's very engaged and very concerned about getting the hostages home safely from the October 7th attack, and that is her greatest passion on earth right now, as well as her family and her grandchildren. So, there's a lot of confusion about what is a casino and what is the difference. You saw the images of what it is that we like to build. Sometimes they're heavily themed, sometimes they're not. So what is the difference between a destination resort and a regional casino? Well, a regional casino simply has a big casino, it has a little bit of food and beverage, it has a small-scale hotel, but it's all based on the casino-centric mentality. A few different things around it, but it's all about the casino. When Sheldon Adelson bought the Sands in the 90s and then decided to go to build the Venetian, he decided it was time to move away from the casino-centric mentality, that you needed all kinds of other amenities because gambling was spreading all over the world. Everyone at that point was within a 200-mile drive of a casino. Now casino gaming is legalized. There's gaming in 42 to 46 states in America. So how is Las Vegas going to compete with the rest of the world? Well, you had to have other amenities and get away from it only driving people into the casino and base it on the tourism and convention model, which is something that we'll be able to add in the communities. We add in every community in which we operate, and we can bring to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, particularly in Irving. So have a convention and trade show-based model. Build beautiful restaurants, top-of-the-line restaurants. Each of our properties has sometimes 30, 40, 50 different restaurants, all owned by different entrepreneurs. We have sometimes 200 to 300 different entrepreneurs operating under the walls of our building, all with their own restaurants, all with their own shops. Those used to be owned by the casinos because all they wanted to do was drive you onto the casino floor. What you do with a destination resort in a place like Irving, which Dallas-Fort Worth is a destination, you make it another destination within a spectacular destination. And within that destination, you want to go to the newest restaurant. If Las Vegas now, you want to go to the Sphere, you want to go to the spa, you want to go shopping, you want to go to all the top new restaurants. Maybe on average, people spend maybe 2 hours on a casino floor, if at all, on the average stay in Las Vegas. It's about all the other things that people want to do when they come to visit one of the resort destinations. So you put all of that together into one infrastructure. But at the end of the day, the casino ends up being probably the smallest amount of square footage in the entire space. We'll talk about this more in detail. So that's the difference between a regional casino and a destination resort. Now this is a kind of an idea of some of our properties, but I'm going to go through them all one by one. The Venetian was at the site of the old Sands Hotel. The attention that I started when that building was just coming out of the ground, it was a fascinating, fun, wonderful process to watch. Sheldon was they decided to do their first destination resort, the Venetian, because that's where Sheldon and Miriam spent their honeymoon. If you look and you can see some of the remarkable architecture in there, maybe some of you have been there before, they would take trip after trip to Venice and capture as many images they can, and with as much detail and cost as possible, they would try to recreate the icons of Venice within the building, to the point that Sheldon was so particular that they would go to the city of Venice, because you can't change the colors of your buildings of Venice for historical purposes. We would get paint chips from the city of Venice that we could copy so that we recreate that paint so that our building in Las Vegas matched the exact color and replica of Venice. So the original Venetian opened in 1999, 4,028 keys, that's rooms, 2 million square feet of meeting space, 1.1 million square feet of retail space, over 500,000 square feet of food and beverage, 160,000 square feet of casino, and 4,334 seats of entertainment. So if you look at all of that, just by way of example, 160,000 square feet of casino in a total developed area of 18.6 million square feet. After the Venetian opened, if you've seen you can see this is the Venetian Tower in the middle. To the right was the Venezia Tower, which we added later. And you can see that we recreated all the images from the Doge's Palace to the Campanelli Tower of Las Vegas so people could feel they had a true, enjoyable experience. We have all kinds of family-friendly things that you can do there. I think you've all heard about the Sphere. It's one of the most iconic things in the world today. At one period of time, we had a Guggenheim Museum. We've had art exhibits. So there's all kinds of other things to do in the building besides just the casino element. Our first property in Macau, China was a very small, very exclusive hotel and casino called the Sands Macau. Was our first entry to the market. Very small, very elegant, but again, it was our first entry to the market. That allowed us to move on to our next project, which was the Venetian in Macau in 2007. That had 2,841 rooms, 1.2 million square feet of meeting and convention space. Again, honoring our commitment to bring visitation to the cities in which we operate. Not just people to go to the casino, but for people to go to a convention and trade show and do business. Imagine this, when COVID shut down the world and the convention and trade show industry stopped for 2 to 3 years, it took $3 trillion out of the United States economy. The amount of money that happens at conventions and trade shows where people set up their exhibitions and shut down their exhibitions and trade and transact is one of the biggest benefits to the economy today and one of the most underserved elements that I think we have in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And again, you can see that many of the design elements are very similar to the Venetian in Las Vegas. It's a spectacular building, has a lot of the same architecture that you see at the Venetian in Las Vegas, as well as its true calling, which is being similar to Venice. In 2007, Vegas was doing very well. The Venetian was doing well. We added the Palazzo Tower. So that was another tower within the Venetian, adding another 3,064 rooms, making it over 7,100 rooms. At that point, the largest hotel and the largest building in the world. And then with a total space at that point of, again, 18 million square feet when we were all done. But again, a huge addition to the retail portion, the food and beverage, and another 1,200 seats of entertainment. So this is an idea of what the Palazzo and the Venetian look like together in Las Vegas. If you've been there, you've probably seen it and appreciated it. Our next operation was to move on to Macau, a new property in Macau, the Four Seasons Macau. I don't know if any of you have been to Four Seasons before. They're always very elegant hotels. We wanted to bring a very high-end brand because that is our marketplace, is the high end of the market. One of the probably most elegant Four Seasons in the world with one of the most successful mall and retail spaces in the world attached to it. A smaller hotel at 667 keys, 410,000 square feet of retail, a casino of about 140,000 square feet, but a beautiful, beautiful hotel that's kind of attached, all attached to the Venetian Macau. Then, did anyone see the movie Crazy Rich Asians by chance? Anyone see that movie? Marina Bay Sands in Singapore is the pinnacle of everything we have built. 55-story tower, you've seen it. It has 1,844 keys, 1.1 over a million square feet of meeting space, 1 million square feet of some of the best retail in the world, over 300,000 square feet of food and beverage, 447,000 square foot casino, 2,100 seats of entertainment, a massive, beautiful almost a arts and science museum, similar to anything you would experience if you went to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. It also, and you see on the top there, that is a pool deck right there. If you look at the top of those three 55-story towers, that is a pool deck. You could put the Eiffel Tower on top of that and put a 747 on top of that, and that is how big the pool deck is. And then you can see the banana-looking building, or the banana-looking space there. That is our Arts and Science Museum, very heavily trafficked by local residents. And also, the importance of this property, which is what we're going to expect from Irving, is the government mandated what they want. We weren't able to just go in and build whatever we wanted. They didn't want anything heavily themed, which some jurisdictions do. They demanded, and this was one of the most competitive bids in the history of the world for a casino. It had to be architecturally significant. You had to make a minimum investment in art. You had to make a minimum investment in non-gaming amenities. They did not want it to be all about the casino. They wanted the casino to not be visible when you walked into the facility. We accommodated that with the government because we knew that was important to them. So we came up with this building. It's been very successful. We are doing an expansion. This expansion of Marina Bay Sands, if you look at it, another spectacular pool deck with a 3-tiered pool deck there, which is absolutely spectacular. I don't know if any of you remember going on vacation when you just couldn't wait to get the Holiday Inn to hop in the pool. That's the experience you have when you go to Marina Bay Sands. This hotel tower will be very, very VIP with the most expensive hotel room per square foot ever built in the history of the world. So that is what Marina Bay Sands will look like with the expansion of the new tower to my left and to your right. There is also an arena, 15,000 seat arena for concerts and venues, again, making it another family-friendly venue so that local residents have plenty to do, making it safe, making it secure. Then we built the Parisian again, in Macau, another large-scale property. I don't need to go through the square footage. A spectacular building. You saw the pictures there before. Some really beautiful, iconic recreations of Paris with great restaurants, tons of wonderful retail, tons of wonderful dining experiences. Then the Londoner, which you saw earlier, there was the 4 towers. There was a Sheraton and a Holiday Inn. The Londoner was just redone at several $1 billion. It has 6,000 keys, about just under 1 million square feet of meeting and retail space, 7,700 square feet seats of entertainment. And this was originally a building with 4 different towers that was just okay. And then we decided that we wanted to redo it all, and so it became the Londoner. So we recreated London. So across the street you have Venice, across the street from this you have Paris, and then you have the Londoner here along with the Big Ben. Again, the government there wanted it to be themed. If people don't want it to be themed, it won't be themed. So what does it all really mean? What are the economic opportunities? What does it mean for all of you that are in the room today and for people across Texas? We have no desire, nor would we support, nor will we work for legislation that allows gaming to be all over Texas, as it is today, illegally. It would allow for no more than 10 destination resorts in the larger metroplexes. It would have to be extremely regulated. You'd have to have local buy-in and support from your communities in order to win a license. You would have to make a minimum investment, and the criteria in order to win a license would be amongst the most stringent in the world. So this is not an opportunity for anybody to come forward and build a casino. This will attract the best and the brightest and the most qualified, the legacy corporations of hospitality and gaming in the world in an open, competitive bid in the state of Texas, across the state of Texas. So these are some of we don't know what the final bill will be like. We're still in the throes of the legislature. Keep in mind, you all can relax. It's not even legal yet. It's years away. This is just a concept for zoning that may or may not happen. So we're a long ways away, but I appreciate everyone's sentiment and respect the fact that we have no interest whatsoever. If people are opposed to gaming, they think it's morally opposed to it. We have no desire at all to change your mind. We're just here to tell you that if we do operate here, we're going to be a wonderful community partner, and we're going to be offering a lot of other opportunities besides the casino, and you'll be very proud to have us as your partner. So, some estimates say it's around, go ahead, let it all out. All right, potentially $13 to $15 billion of added value to the Texas GDP, 80 to 90,000 permanent jobs, and 185,000 construction jobs. That's with just a limited number of facilities being built in the state of Texas. So theoretically, what could happen? Again, we don't know what the final legislation will look like, but we know there'll be no more than maybe 10 different facilities. So these were just some theoretical models based on minimum investments, based on all the non-gaming amenities you would need to invest in, based on what we think would be a good tax rate. This is a model, just one model that someone had, George Zadro from Rice University, about $7.5 million in resort revenues, 36,000 full-time employees. It would probably go up to much more than that when you look at the ancillary effects of all the other people that you employ, and about $9.2 billion in local purchases. That's what Rice University professor George Zadro thought about one of our legislative proposals. Here's a broader overview of what some of the local tax estimates would look like. Again, these may be modest, but I think that they're accurate. Let's just look at the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If they were located here, another $6 million in sales tax, 28, much more I think than that, in property taxes, and total non-gaming revenues, aside from what we'd be generating, of around $35 million. But statewide, another $82 million in non-gaming revenue, a tremendous boost to the economy. So that's sort of what the world may look like. But let me explain the process to you. It's before the legislature today. It would have to be approved by the voters. So it's a constitutional amendment. So we need 2/3 of both houses to put it on the ballot for you all to vote on it. And then, if it's approved by the voters, there has to be enabling legislation that would go through another legislative session. They would need to create a Texas Gaming Commission, which would be months after that. And then there would be a competitive bidding process. So, what does the world look like today for Texas? Clyde Barrow says there's probably $5 billion of gaming revenue that leaves Texas every year to other jurisdictions. Now, that's always what we looked at. That's what Texans have been very concerned about. We know where they are: New Mexico, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, the Oklahoma casinos, many of whom sponsored your attendance tonight, and some in Mexico as well. So here's the illegal gaming market in Texas today. Look at the amount. Now, it's fascinating to us. You've seen it. How many people have gone into a convenience store or gone into a liquor store or gone to something where you see those slot machines? There's maybe 2 or 3 in a facility. They're all unregulated. Some of them are illegal. And nobody is doing anything about it at all. And they need to be gotten rid of. But the state and other people don't have it to try and get an answer as to how many there are and where they're located is harder than a Where's Waldo cartoon. No one has an answer, no one knows anything about it, and it's very hard to encourage anyone to take action to get it done. So while many people have been looking at the $5 billion that leaves the state to Oklahoma every day, it is ironic to me that when I got here, the Welcome to Irving sign is silhouetted by a Choctaw casino advertisement. They are wonderful operators and happy to be friends with them. But the American Gaming Association estimates that there is $53 billion of illegal gaming going on in Texas today. People are doing it on their phone. You've all seen it. Many people don't even know that betting on your phone is illegal. Betting on sports on your phone is illegal, and it needs to be shut down. And let me tell you something else, folks. And I know you're all concerned about responsible gaming and addiction and all those things that are so important. You have no resources for any of that today at all. And yet it is the largest illegal gaming market in the world. That needs to stop. That stops through proper regulation and with the funding that needs to be done for law enforcement to make that happen. So imagine now, 65,000 illegal machines. You pass a constitutional amendment with a very, very, very strict regulatory environment by the Texas Gaming Commission. The fees that we pay and the taxes we pay will then give the state and local law enforcement authorities to shut down all of the illegal gambling going on in Texas today, preying on everyone. Imagine this. Imagine this. Imagine this. If you walk into a 7-Eleven or a child walks into a 7-Eleven, if you walk into a casino in Las Vegas or you walk anywhere where there's gaming, that employee that works in that casino has a legal responsibility that could put the licensee in jeopardy to make sure that there is not a minor that plays on that machine, and to make sure that if there's a malfunction, we have a regulatory environment that allows for them to have a recourse. If you go to a convenience store today or a liquor store today, there is nothing within the provision of law or no obligation for the person working behind the convenience store to check the ID of the person playing that machine. And if that machine malfunctions, there is no recourse for them. If after they put all their money in and they win something, there's no recourse for them to get anything done. That is a travesty. That needs to be fixed. That can be solved when you have a properly appropriated regulatory environment that controls all of these types of elements. So take all of that illegal gambling. This is just something, by the way, where we have just through Google, because no one in the state of Texas can tell us where all the unregulated machines are. No one can give us a lift. There's no proper registration. So this is just what our team did to find the amount online through Google where we saw that there were unregulated slot parlors in the state of Texas. This is just a sampling of what we've been able to find on our own with no help from any government authorities to figure out what's going on. So take all of that, make it illegal, wipe it off the map, take away the 65,000 illegal machines, crack down on illegal gaming, crack down on illegal slot parlors, and put that all in one safe place. 10. Go ahead. It's all right. We call you. It's all right. We call you folks undecided. So, go ahead. All right. So here's where the integrated resorts, destination resorts could possibly be. You want to have a very open and competitive bidding process. And you want to be where the people want to be to drive tourism and convention traffic. So you would go to the larger metroplexes, but not just pick one city. So if this is eventually legalized, the entire Dallas MSA, the Metroplex, will have a whole series of competitive bids. The same would happen in Houston and different markets across the state, but a very limited number. So you take all the illegal activity, you put it in one place where it's regulated and safe and where there are protections. Now, that's just my opinion. Well, before I get to that, and I want to get this to the question and answer period. There are a lot of concerns that people have. There's a lot of data. I understand that if you're opposed to gaming, but here is the bottom line about some of the myths about gaming. One, the introduction of casino gaming increases the prevalence of problem gaming. Data, study after study after study. Government studies, peer-reviewed studies all show that there are people that have a problem with gaming, but that rate is consistently at 1% to 2%. For those people that do have a problem, you have an obligation as a licensed casino operator in Nevada and potentially someday in the state of Texas to take care of those people and to provide services. You have none of that today in the state of Texas. There's a connection between casinos and increased crime. It's just simply unfounded. Because good jobs and good economic opportunity reduce crime. But the crime rates in and around let's just go through a very simple example here. If casinos increase crime, Las Vegas has 200 casinos. Our crime rate should be 11 million%. But it's not. So the data is that proper regulation, good jobs, heavy law enforcement, proper regulation keep people safe in the gaming. We do. You can, okay, we'll keep going here. So the growth is this. We're happy. Look at the support that we have from law enforcement. This is just a smattering of the support that we've gotten on behalf of our legislation at this point. We have law enforcement, we have economic development councils, hotel and lodging association. People understand that done the right way, destination resorts and legalized, properly regulated gaming will reduce crime. But it's not still, we think, 59% of likely voters, and we poll this all the time, 59% of likely voters in Texas would support any casino proposal. It goes to 66% increase in support when they learn of the details of a destination resort. But more importantly, 90% of the people of Texas want the right to vote on it. This is not something that will be legalized by the legislature. This is not something that will be legalized by the legislature. This is something that will be ratified by you on the ballot. It's your choice. So our legislation is to give people the opportunity to vote. So with that being said, that's what we're trying to tell the legislature. That's a great question, because the joint resolution only does not legalize casinos. You need to change the Constitution. The legislature can only put it on the ballot, and then the voters approve it. If it's defeated, it's done. So, thank you for your time and attention. Now we're going to go to my favorite part, the questions and answers. Thank you. All right, what's our next step?
So we got the questions that were gathered in the back, and so we'll ask those questions here at the microphone.
Okay. We did not get to weed them out. So there's going to be some duplication. You want me to sort those in the back, Mark? These are sorted here
Okay.
by
Can we
category.
start? Okay.
We didn't weed them out, so you're going to come across some duplicates.
All these? Okay. All right. First question is from Father John Bayer, 3550 Cistercian Road. This is his question. Everything I've seen suggests contemporary gambling is predatory. It exploits our weaknesses and leads to addiction and great suffering for many people. Besides the promise of money and passing pleasure, what evidence do you have to suggest you will really contribute to healthy and happy people in Irving and for anyone who gambles in such a casino today?
Okay, so your market today that is illegal is entirely predatory. And so through proper regulation, you end predatory gambling. If you do it in a controlled environment, if you do it within the walls in a limited way, and you have a strong regulatory environment, it is not predatory. It is controlled, it is a largely tourism and convention-based market, but gambling is not, it is predatory when it is on every corner. It is predatory when it is widespread. It is not predatory when it is well regulated. For those folks that do have a problem with gambling, they need resources. And it is a requirement, it will be a requirement in order to earn a license in Texas. A requirement to run a license. It is what is your company's history in dealing with people that have had a problem with gambling? What have you done? What is your regulatory history? And what are your qualifications to be able to know that you have actually contributed to help people that have problems, not only with responsible gaming, but a whole host of other issues. So to answer his question is that we need to end the predatory gambling that is happening in Texas today, consolidated into a well-regulated environment, and then with a strong regulatory environment, overseen not only by a very strict regulatory environment by the state of Texas, but also with a local government that holds people accountable to make sure that you're not building a facility that preys on the most vulnerable, which is what's happening today. Next question, please.
So this one's from James Bell. And he asked, the Singapore location demanded some restrictions about how, in limiting gambling, mainly to high rollers. Would you consider doing that in Irving?
It wasn't really limited to high rollers. So first of all, the one thing that did happen in Singapore is the government, when you walked into the facility, they just didn't want the facility to be visible. So we honored that when we worked with them. The nature of what we build is the higher end of the market. If you can see by the amount of money that we spend, that is really the market in which we operate. That being said, operating in Las Vegas, you know, we all of our entertainment venues in Las Vegas, we all live around gaming in Las Vegas. Wonderful resorts that are scattered throughout the community, and so in some cases, you know, it's an incredible value to the community. We go to those places. There's movie theaters. There's bowling alleys. Most people that walk in never spend a dime on the gambling tables. So if you do it in the right way, in a beautiful way, it's not predatory. What is predatory is illegal gambling. What is predatory is slot machines in 7-Elevens and convenience stores and liquor stores with no regulation. So properly regulated gaming operated by only the best and brightest operators with a strict regulatory environment, with a local government that holds you accountable, will stop predatory gambling. And then the licensees and the applicants need to do everything they can to help those in need should they have that problem. Next question.
This is I'm sorry, we're doing written questions. Please sit down. Please sit down.
We're going to follow the procedures of the City Council. Right. Thank you. So
the next question is from Jacqueline Brittle, 1845 East Northgate Drive. How is Sands spending the $84 million that the Miriam Adelson or Sands has invested in the legislative session? Lobbyists, donations to buy reps, advertisements against politicians that oppose gambling, advertisements for destination resorts.
How do we spend it, or do they just explain it?
How did you spend it? And
we have a very robust effort, because what's important, the reason why we have so many lobbyists is because we think it's so important to be transparent, and we have as many people as we can, to answer as many different questions as possible. So we have a team of lobbyists and people and public affairs people that are there to work on the issue, to make sure that it gets done in the right way. So yes, lots of money spent on lobbyists, lots of PR firms, and lots of money spent on politics. That's what it was spent on.
So the next question is from Niece Zipper, who essentially asks, if the state bargains for a percentage of revenues, are you willing to fund the city of Irving's additional expenses for law enforcement, social services, and infrastructure so local citizens are not paying extra taxes? And if so, how much?
Right. Great question. So if you have a minimum investment required by law of $2 billion, and we would probably spend a minimum of $4 billion, based on your levy, that would be almost $24 million more for the city of Irving, $40 million for the Irving School District. This is property taxes based on your levy. $8.6 million for Dallas County, $4.2 million for the Community College District, almost $8.5 million for the Parkland Hospital. So another $85 million of property tax benefits to fund police, to fund firemen, to fund schools, to fund libraries. It would be basically found money. So yes, absolutely. Not only would our property taxes help enhance and be a windfall for the city of Irving, but any additional needs to our corporate giving and social responsibility would be supportive of not only additional needs of fire and police protection, but any number of things that would come along the way. Our commitment to social welfare and corporate giving and corporate governance and giving money to the community is a big part of the DNA of our community. So we would be more than happy to pay our fair share, and we should be required to do so.
We have a question
Forever.
here.
You just can't stop paying taxes one day.
Question from Sister Mary Angelica Neenan. I love the Italian theme, but can you please do a destination tourist place, but without a casino? This would show that the Sands Company would really care about the people who live here and are not only profit-minded. It would prove that you really are concerned about benefiting the city and not ruining the wholesome atmosphere here, especially the Monastery of Monks and the University of Dallas nearby.
Right. So I appreciate the question, and the bottom line is that when we build a destination resort, we will in fact enhance the community. It will provide additional tourism visitation and revenue. But the bottom line is that if we're going to build a $4 billion facility and build an arena and build all the other amenities, the gaming component helps us subsidize and build all of the other amenities that make it great. Go ahead, next question, please.
Oscar Ward asks, he points out an article in the Dallas Morning News that says, quote, the city of Dallas intends to keep the Mavs. So is the Sands in discussions with Dallas, the Dallas mayor and city council, and if a state vote fails, will the Sands still develop this property?
Okay, there's a couple things in there. First of all, the Mavs are owned by the family, and the Sands has no say in the operations of the Mavericks. So that is up to the Mavericks organization and the family alone. And then what was the second part of that question? Would we develop it
Would you
without
develop
the
it
casino?
if gambling did not pass?
Well, it is an investment. It is a great opportunity. We haven't really considered that. Remember, we're just looking for a zoning approval that if we decide to move forward with a development, there are certain changes that need to be made to the site. There's $50 million of improvements that need to be made to the site for whatever is built on it. So we want to be able to begin. That's the reason why we're here for the zoning today. We're here so that you can address your concerns. We envision, obviously, it's a big parcel of land. Somebody is going to build something spectacular there. It may be us, it may be somebody else, but something needs to be done. The zoning changes need to be done to be able to make those improvements. So we're just here today to tell you a little bit about our company, a lot about our company, talk about what destination resorts are, the future development, only the future will tell.
Question from Herbert Raish. Irving has been successful recruiting top Fortune 500 companies to move their headquarters here. Having a development with a sports stadium would be a big plus in recruiting more such companies. Having a local casino with its historic social negatives would not. How would the Sands support the Irving City Council and the Chamber of Commerce to recruit more top Fortune 500 companies with a casino here?
Right. Well, first of all, it would attract more Fortune 500 companies because it would become another spectacular entertainment option for people that are living here. It'd be more restaurants, it would be an arena, it would be family-friendly entertainment with bowling alleys and movie theaters and arena where you can see everything from Coldplay to Lady Gaga to Disney on Ice. It becomes another entertainment venue for people to go to and entertain themselves in a city full of wonderful destinations. So I dispute the notion that we would detract it. I think if a destination resort is built, it will attract more businesses and more people to want to live in the city of Irving.
So Landon Lively asks, so you've sold off some of the properties in Las Vegas and moved to the Asian markets. If you get successful approval of this project, will you continue to be here? Is there a plan that you would sell this project?
So there was the sale of the Las Vegas projects. We're actively working here. We want to be in Texas. We decided at that point that for the return, that looking what was going on in Las Vegas, there was a decision to deploy capital elsewhere. Our single greatest motivation for our next opportunity to invest billions of dollars is in the state of Texas. We think it is one of the best opportunities to grow the convention and trade show market, increase visitation. So our focus primarily is on the state of Texas for future growth opportunities, and we would be here for forever.
Question from Maria Julia Boca. Your former CEO, Sheldon Adelson, was investigated by the SEC for potential FCPA violations regarding operations in Macau. How have your compliance and ethics policies changed since then?
Sure. There was an investigation, and there was an investigation, and there were some fines levied, but none of it was really about the initial charges. So that was an investigation we went through, and that's also part of the importance of a well-regulated environment. So it's part of the importance of being well-regulated. So the question was, what was the question other than the mentioning of the investigation? There's a question in there someplace.
After the investigation, how have the policies changed for the company?
There were some changes in policies. I think as things have evolved, we looked at certain things we did internally, but I think the policies that we had in place and some of the changes were very significant, but they were across the board in terms of how we did books and record keeping and some other things like that. I'm not that familiar with all the changes that went into that. Next question.
Paul Stadahar asks, what percentage of revenue from your current properties or this property is anticipated to come from the casino portion?
Great question. So as these develop, about 30% of our net profit comes from the casino and 70% comes from everything else.
From Mr. Eckhart in Fox Glen, 116 Fox Glen Circle. Why would Sands get tax credits and we residents have to foot the bill with more police and fire resources?
We're not asking for any tax credits. We will not ask for tax credits. It'll be written in the legislation that any licensee will not be able to qualify for tax credits.
This is from Greg and Elsa Moore. This may be early in your planning, but do you have any proposed theme for this destination?
No, I mean, again, whatever it is that we do and whatever it is we build needs to blend into the community. This would be a lengthy process where we work with people, work with the city, work with the design standards of the city. We're probably not interested in building anything themed here. It needs to blend into the local community. So, I mean, if the city of Irving or people wanted it to be heavily themed, we would consider it, but we haven't thought about that at this stage.
This is from Paige Talerno. What have you developed that is close to the high-value homes, such as that are in Las Colinas, and what has happened to their home values?
So casinos typically, if you look at Las Vegas, in particular where we live, there are, you can go to Green Valley Resort, you can go to Red Rock, you can go to any number of smaller sort of neighborhood casinos in Las Vegas and other parts of the world, and there is no negative impact on home values.
So here's one from Keith. If you aren't a casino company, why do you need a casino on this property?
If we're what?
If you aren't a casino company, why do you need a casino?
I didn't say we aren't a casino company. I said we're not a casino-centric company. That we build mixed-use developments. We're a convention and trade show company. We're an entertainment company. We are a food and beverage company. We are a hospitality company. We're a fantastic employer, but we also have casinos in the middle of all that. But I never said we weren't a casino company. I said we moved away from a casino-centric mentality where Las Vegas and other places had operated for years.
This is from Timothy Norman. How much money has been contributed to the Irving City Council campaigns by your endeavor, and how much money has been contributed?
Hold on. Say that, I want to make sure I heard that right.
How much money has been contributed to the Irving City Council campaigns by your endeavor, and how much money has been contributed to Texas state elections by the Sands Corporation by your endeavor?
City Council, zero. Texas legislature, millions.
So there's a variety of questions on this topic, but given the legality of many things in Las Vegas, this is from Zachary Moritz, but a lot of questions. How is it comparable to say a casino could not lead to increased crime when there is not increased crime in Vegas? So the tenor of these questions are how can you guarantee there won't be increased crime?
Right. Well, because, so first of all, the largest sort of, first of all, there is no, first of all, it goes in the governance of the way you run your company. Why on earth would you spend $4 billion on a facility that will be riddled with crime? It's not a great hospitality experience to experience crime in where you're operating. So one of our largest workforces is security. So there is no, all the data says that the building of destination resorts does not have a significant increase in crime. We can send you all the studies, we'll post it. That is just simply a myth. So the commitment that needs to be made is when you are applying for the gaming license is what is your regulatory history? What have you done? How strong is your own law enforcement workforce within your facility? What have you done for local law enforcement to make sure that your guests are safe? Just think for just a minute. A casino is perhaps the most stupid place in the world to commit a crime. Singapore, Marina Bay Sands has 15,000 cameras. From the moment you walk in to the moment you go to the room, we watch everything you're doing. That will be the same sort of measures that we have in any facility that would be built here. So there is no increase in crime, and the statistics and the data consistently shows that in the neighborhoods around casinos, crime rates in most cases go down because you have created more economic vitality, created more jobs, and more economic opportunity. Good jobs and good revenue do not create crime, they reduce it. That's what destination resorts would bring to Texas.
This question is from Jasmine Sandry. Given the company's Patrick Dumont's approach to business dealings, particularly in relation to the Dallas Mavericks, how can we trust that the Sands is committed to transparency in their operations and decision-making for what is good to the community?
Again, the Mavericks decision I'm not quite sure what they actually mean by that question, because I think everything that the company does is pretty transparent. But we have a commitment to transparency. We have an obligation as a licensee as a gaming licensee, to be transparent. So with all due respect, I just simply reject every notion of that question.
Please specify the tangible benefits to citizens of Irving with a timeline in regards to health, services, roads, transportation, education, tax rates, police, fire, employment.
Right. So I went through earlier, addressed a lot of those questions by the property tax revenue that will be generated for the city of Irving, for the school district, for Dallas County, for the college district, and including Parkland Hospital. So the benefits there are significant. Part of the reason why, if something like this happens, you begin the process like we're doing today for something that would be built years in advance, and we're working with the zoning commission now, is to make sure that whatever impacts we have on traffic, on roads, or whatever are planned for, and we help mitigate the impacts that those things would have. So we have an obligation to make sure that we have no negative impacts on the community, particularly when it comes to infrastructure. We need great infrastructure. You only have one opportunity to go in and go out. And if you don't enjoy the experience of trying to go into a facility one time, you may never come back. So good roads, good infrastructure are very important to us, as is good education, why it is so important not only for us to generate additional revenue, property tax revenue to fund education, but as part of our philanthropic efforts to bolster local education with scholarships, not only for college areas, but working with schools like the University of Dallas, like we do with UNLV, like we do everywhere, to provide scholarships and learning opportunities for other people to seek education.
Here's a question from Rory Phillips. How likely is it, and how committed is the Adelson family to bringing the Dallas Mavericks to play in the destination resort by having an arena here?
Again, the Mavericks are totally separate from the corporation, so I can't address what the intention is long-term for the Mavericks and where they're going to be. But we do, with or without a professional sports team, would like, in all the facilities we build, we do envision an arena here, a large-scale arena for concerts and entertainment venues, with or without a professional team.
This question's about Luca. I'm just kidding, it's not. Have you done any environmental studies or impact studies on this particular site? It's a huge project to a great city of Irving. Have you done any of those studies?
Yeah, and Mark Bokenheit is here, and I think he could address it later, but I believe that we have done environmental studies. I think there's been some additional work. Mark, is that right? I'll tell you. I'll repeat it. Mark is saying that we have begun some of the environmental work. We've done boring studies. We're working on all the environmental work. It's an ongoing process, and we have begun to do some cleanup of the site. But the environmental, obviously the environmental piece of it is critically important. We learned that when we bought the Bethlehem Steel Factory, largest brownfield redevelopment project in the history of America. So obviously keeping this site clean and making sure that all the environmental standards are at the highest level is very important to us. So of course, we will do whatever is needed to make sure that the site is clean and environmentally safe.
It's a question from Maria Martinez. If a casino is not built, what are the options for the site to benefit the city of Irving to build tax revenue?
To build what?
Revenue. Tax
revenue. Well, I mean, I think no matter who develops it, there's going to be, I think clearly the zoning is for this to be able to become a mixed-use development. I think that's what people envisioned. I believe that's what the city of Irving has wanted for a long opportunity. So it's been sitting here idle for a while. So whether there's a casino or not, someday there's going to be something spectacular on this land.
So there's a variety of questions that address what purport to be historical data showing 90% of revenues come from 10% of the customers, and many of them are addicted. what would you do or what have you done to lessen the impact to predatory gaming, addicted gamblers?
Well, study after study shows that only 1% to 2% of the American public has a problem gaming addiction. That is lower than credit cards. That's lower than a lot of other addictions that are there. So that being said, what do you do for those people that have a problem? We're proud of the fact that we have a leading edge program to deal with problem gaming in terms of education. In each of our casinos across the world, all of our employees are trained to look for the signs of problem gaming. All of our employees are trained on a regular basis to understand all of that. We have ambassadors. If someone is on the casino floor and they have a challenge and they need help and they go to someone, they say, I'm thinking I have a problem, is there someone I can talk to? We have ambassadors that are on our casino floor trained 24/7. They immediately go to that person, talk them through their crisis, and send them to some place where they can get help. If they become a problem, they can ban themselves or have self-limit options in all of our casinos. If people do realize they've got a problem, the awareness of this issue is critically important. That's why in all of our facilities, you see responsible gaming signage, telling people where to go if they need help, telling them to stop if they have a problem, giving them an opportunity to talk to somebody if they're having a challenge. And then we provide care and we provide funding for all of the entities, the non-government organizations that provide help for those people. Keep in mind that Miriam Adelson is the foremost addiction specialist maybe in the world. She has treated hundreds, if not thousands of people and gotten them off the scourge of heroin addiction. Fighting addiction is in the DNA of our company. You also have to have a zero tolerance policy for not taking care of those people that have a problem. So making sure for those small numbers of people that do have a problem, you need to be there for them, you need to be supportive of them, you need to get them to help, and when they get the help, you need to make sure that it is properly funded. Let's just be clear, you don't have any of that in Texas today. You have people pouring over the border to Oklahoma. So for those 1% to 2% that may have a problem, you are vastly underserved by that. Now, and also the illegal gaming market that I have talked about today, no support, no help. If this is legalized by someday, then well-funded programs to help everybody with gaming addiction or other ailments will be mandated and will be well-funded and will help so many people today in the state of Texas that have no place else to go. But our programs were originally developed with Harvard University, the Cambridge Institute to focus on addiction. We update them constantly. It's based on science, it's based on responsible gaming science, and it's based on research. So in the operations in which we operate, which we'd like to see in Texas, is there should be an accreditation process for everyone that has a license today, which doesn't exist. And you have to have the strictest, most high-level responsible gaming standards for your criteria. It just can't be a token commitment to helping with responsible gaming. It has to be a commitment, and your programs need to meet at accreditation standards of the highest level, and we're proud to say that we meet all of those in all the jurisdictions in which we operate, and we'll do the same if we have the opportunity to be in the state of Texas someday.
Question from Fergus Scully. Do you have any comments about the Sands federal anti-bribery criminal penalty paid in 2017, or the accusations of your former executive Stephen Jacobs that the Sands had a, quote, prostitution strategy and facilitated money laundering?
That was part of the earlier question on the FCPA thing, and all of that was proven to be untrue. But that's an add-on. That's kind of a repeat question. But that was all proven to be untrue.
So there's a variety of questions from several people on what is or would the Sands be doing about human trafficking, sex trafficking, and prostitution?
Great. Such an important question. Thank you for asking that question. Human trafficking is one of the greatest ignored scourges in this country today. Texas is the second leading human trafficking market in the country. And here's our policy. It is very strict. We have a zero tolerance policy for human trafficking. It diminishes anything. The people in our casinos need to feel safe and know that those types of nefarious behaviors aren't happening. So we base our human trafficking, preventing of human trafficking policy on the global our anti-human trafficking policies on the global human trafficking policy guidelines, and it's part of our code of business conducts and ethics. And not only do we train all of our employees to look for the signs of human trafficking, we require, if any of you had a business, all of our suppliers, all of our business associates are also tracked for any ties they may have to human trafficking. And we monitor and audit that. How do you prevent it within a casino facility? You have security and surveillance led by former law enforcement. You have relationships with local authorities. You have public and covert strategies to look for the signs of human trafficking within your building. You have technology to monitor and detect the activity. And then you have trained specialists that are coached to ID what could be human trafficking behavior within the walls, to track human trafficking behavior, and then when they see that, to elevate it to the proper authorities. But it's really about awareness. Signage in all areas, video messages for our team members, constantly training them to look for the signs of human trafficking, to elevate the awareness of everyone in the country about the challenges we have with human trafficking. We support the national, we work closely with the National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and we're supportive of the United Nations World Day Against Human Trafficking. But you also have partnerships with regulatory agencies and local law enforcement. You have to have well-publicized avenues for people to see and report to team members if they see human trafficking. We have a 24/7 hotline that people can call if they see it in multiple languages. You can report what you see in human trafficking via telephone, via website, via QR code, signages and materials all over our properties to look for the signs of human trafficking. You work with your suppliers to know that they also are your partner in preventing human trafficking with your suppliers and your businesses. All of our suppliers, all of our partners have to go through due diligence and background checks to make sure that they have no ties to nefarious organizations, and we monitor and audit all of that. But most importantly, you need to support victims and partnerships with nonprofit organizations, many of which we are already supporting today, many of which we had already met with in Irving, to be unnamed. You have some remarkable support mechanisms in Irving today that need more support. So not only do you have to have a zero tolerance policy for human trafficking, you need to put your money where your mouth is and support the support organizations that when someone that is being trafficked goes into a safe haven, they need a safe place to go. They need to be funded. We're doing it in Austin. We do it in places all over the world, and we look forward to doing it here soon.
Here's a question from Jeremy Dixon. There's several parts. First, has the Sands considered how or whether this development would compete or function would compete against the city's convention center?
It would complement it. So, great question. So, the way the convention trade show business works optimally is you have this lovely facility here. Typically what happens, look at great example tonight about why you should always double and triple, this would be our investment in the community, is that we're here tonight. We need to be out of here at 9 o'clock or whatever, because there's another meeting that needs to move in. If you double and triple the size of your convention space, like we could do in the Metroplex, particularly for Irving, so if there is one convention and trade show operating in this facility and being operating, another one would be setting up in our facility so that you have a consistent stream of revenue. Then when this show breaks down, our show is operating. When that show breaks down, this one is setting up. So you have a consistent level of visitation. You don't, because otherwise your facility is being conventions and trade shows, take big ones, take 4 days to set up, operate for 4 days, take 4 days to shut down. If you have a private sector partner like us that builds additional meeting and convention space, you have a consistent flow of convention trade show traffic. It keeps your visitation at a consistent level. It doesn't become dysfunctional, and you have it has a better impact for all of the hotels and all the visitation around. Otherwise, it's just a series of peaks and lows. So we call it a leapfrogging strategy, and it's why Sheldon Adelson built so much convention and trade show space. So our view is the more meeting convention space that we can build, the better it is for business, the better it is for Irving, and the better it is for tourism and visitation.
All right. The next part of the question, I think really it goes to this. Why this site? Why have you chosen the PUD 6 site for this development?
This site was chosen. It was actually chosen before we bought the Mavericks, looked at it as an opportunity for a development site. Obviously, it has good infrastructure. It has a space to build a lot of other different things. And so we just looked at it as a very attractive site and something that would be developed, with the proper amount of square footage. So has great road access. It was just a very attractive site to us.
And then the last part is, when gambling isn't made legal, will this development still be viable?
Sure.
I got a two-part question, or actually from two folks, but I think it's maybe all flows together. First one from Omar Rangawala, and then the second one from Ann Gilligan. But being that this is such a huge project, why are you rushing the approval so quickly? We need to take more time to do the due diligence and concrete assessments of this project. And then second part, how long has the city of Irving or any of the council members been in discussion with Sands Corporation or any of its subsidiaries, I guess, regarding bringing about a casino to Irving?
Okay, so first question. So what was your first part of the question there?
The first one was why the rush?
Oh, why the rush? Listen, there's no rush to build a casino. It's not legal. So you can't build it unless it's legal. And whatever would be done, even if the legislature passed it today, you wouldn't see anything here for 5 to 7 years. So there is no rush to build a casino. As we are looking at the prospective uses of the site for mixed use, we wanted to know that we may have the opportunity that should destination resorts someday develop and be legalized, we wanted to have that as an option for the site. Additionally, there is a lot of site work that needs to be done, probably $50 million of site work. Need to relocate a levee drainage channel, lots of foundation work from previous buildings to be done. So there's costs that need to be done there. And so, and also, the reason that we wanted to begin the discussion now is that someday if we go into a licensing process, we want to say that we began the engagement with the community before it was even legal. So I want to be able to stand before a gaming control board, a gaming commission for a license and say, our first town hall meeting was March 2025. What will happen when it is legal someday is that after the rules are set out for the bid, there will be a mad scramble and municipalities and companies will only have months to prepare their application. The importance of us being here today and beginning this dialogue about something that is entirely notional, not even legal, is that we're just looking to see that it may be an option, and we want to be able to, again, thoughts of what we could do for the site.
The question from Andrew Smiley, is the Sands looking at any other locations for its destination resort, such as Frisco or Arlington or Dallas?
So I hate to disappoint everybody, but there are other options that we would look at, but we're focused on Irving right now. But we're also looking at by that I mean there's also other cities that we're going to be looking to develop in as well.
So there's a couple questions. This one's from Chris Malloy. What legal protections do you publicly promise to make before the vote on March 20th to ensure that the University of Dallas will not be negatively impacted by crime and sex trafficking?
Well, we have, I think the commitment that we have, first of all, it's not legal yet. Second, there would be no negative impact on the University of Dallas for crime and sex trafficking, as I've said repeatedly. And because if it is done the proper way and is properly regulated and you only have the best and the brightest legacy operators, there won't be those types of impacts on Dallas. So with all due respect, again, the premise of the question is just simply false and not worthy of a further response.
There's a question from Neil Fernandez. Why are there so many decaying and decrepit buildings on Sands Boulevard in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania? Sands sold, moved on, and left the job undone. How can we trust that that won't happen here?
So I didn't know, and are you talking about Bethlehem, Pennsylvania? Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, after the creation of Sands Bethlehem, was one of the greatest uplifts of a community. All of the businesses in that area are thriving. There were empty, decrepit businesses in Bethlehem before we built it. That area is thriving. Full, storefronts are full, new homes, new infrastructure, all of this new investment in Bethlehem because of the investment that we made in taking a long-shuttered steel factory and making it a vibrant place for people to enjoy life and do business. But there's absolutely false to say that the area is surrounded by old, decrepit buildings. It was the largest brownfield redevelopment in the history of the country.
This is from Cormac Lappy. Will Sands directly or indirectly try to influence the proposed zoning change in Irving through financial donations to politicians or PACs?
No, would never do that.
It's a question from Tim Glatz. Sands ended its plan to develop in Japan. Why did that project fail, and is it the same dynamic for Irving?
The project didn't fail. We just decided that the way that I wasn't involved in the Japan project, we just didn't see that they were going to move forward in a time frame that worked for us. So we may go back and look at Japan today, but it was just the legislation was not moving at the right rate for us. That's my recollection, but I didn't work on that project.
So Christian asked, why are you telling the people of Irving that casino gambling is a state and not a local issue, while at the same time pushing for the city to preemptively forfeit our local control over the issue by including casino gaming in the zoning amendment for your land?
Could you repeat that again?
To paraphrase, he's asking if it's a state and not local issue, why are you pushing for the gaming portion to be included in the zoning case?
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, no, it is all about local control. The city of Irving is in complete control of that's why we're here today. It has complete control of everything we do. They're going to hold us accountable for the type of building that we build, the amount of entertainment that we put into it, how it's going to look, how it's going to be built, our impact on roads, our impact on education. There is complete control. When we go to the state for a gaming license application, if we don't demonstrate that we have done everything we can with the local government to make sure they have everything they want in our development, it will hurt us in our license application. So while the state will grant the licenses, the control of what will be developed is entirely local.
It's a question from Brian Sereno. He says, I'm a senior at Cistercian Prep, right next to the university, right next to Pud 6. About 5 years ago, a student was mugged at the DART station there. He references a 2006 study by Earl Grinnells and David Mustard, showing a direct increase in crime of all types, 130% increase in robbery, 91% increase in aggravated assault, 5 years after a casino is introduced. So the question is, why this location so close to 3 high schools and the University of Dallas?
Okay. Well, first of all, the facts are all wrong, because those facts are not what happened. Those facts are not, the premise of the question, once again, with all due respect, is simply wrong. What we will do, if we have the opportunity to build here someday, is listen, there are facilities in Las Vegas that are near universities and near churches and near schools and near elementary schools, and of course you have to have some protections to make sure you'll have the opportunity to make sure that there is no improper signage. You make sure that the building is designed in a way that you're not interfering on the way those businesses operate. But the premise that it increases crime massively is just simply wrong. Now, will we work and be supportive of the University of Dallas and things like that, and make sure that they are comfortable with us as a community neighbor? Absolutely. We look forward to spending a lot of time working with them to make sure they're comfortable.
This one's a simple question from Edna Garcia. How will Irving handle the extra traffic?
Well, that will be all part of a traffic study. It will be part of the master plan, which will be required everywhere. Before you go to the state of Texas, to the Texas, before you apply for a license, you will have to demonstrate that your project mitigates all negative impacts you could have on traffic.
So a question from Mary Simmons, similar to the one before. Since this casino will be built so close to several schools and religious communities, what is the Sands Corporation intending to do for these institutions which will have the greatest impact?
Sure. Well, I think we'll work with them as much as we can to understand what their concerns are. We'll spend a lot of time meeting with them to understand the type of community partner that we will be, and we'll work with them to make sure they know that we will be partners with them and that know that they can be comfortable with us being their neighbor.
So from Amanda Eddings, when will the casinos be presented to the legislature? And it's a comment, it's difficult to decide if we can be in favor of a development without knowing exactly what is or may be built, especially casino gambling. So do you have a comment on that?
Sure. So one, we don't present the casinos to the legislature. The legislature is simply going to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot to give people the right to vote on it. After that is done, there will be enabling legislation that we want to make sure is very strict and requires minimum investments, that requires all the licensees to be thoroughly vetted. They have to know about your regulatory background. What have you done as an employer? What are your employment practices? What is your health care? What is your benefits? What is your history of building projects like this? What is your known history? What is your ability to finance this project? What do you do to prevent human trafficking? What do you do for responsible gaming? What is your philanthropic history? How much do you give to local communities? How much time have you spent with local community partners like the University of Dallas, spending time with them to get their buy-in? So all of that process is part of the application. In terms of what it is that we're going to be built, it's not legal yet. We have not thought about specifically what will be built. My purpose of being here today in this town hall is to give you an idea of the type of things that we do build with great retail, great rooms, and understand that this is what we could one day envision to build in Irving. But the legislature does not decide. The voters decide if gambling will be legal in Texas.
So just a quick announcement. The Muslim community of Irving is inviting all for food outside to break the fast. So just everybody who needs some food can go get some food.
That's great. And if someone from my team could bring me another water or something, I'd appreciate that. Break my thirst fast.
And yeah, let's get another water. But here's a question from Felice Lagarde. You keep speaking about the need to regulate gambling. Since when does legalizing a vice solve this issue?
Say that. Could you repeat that one more time?
So you speak about the need to regulate gambling. And she asked, when does legalizing a vice solve the issue?
Well, okay, so there would be no reason to legalize gambling unless you know there's an incredibly strict regulatory environment. So part of that legalization process, so if it goes to the voters and it is approved, then there needs to be, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm going to love being your neighbor someday too. So what was the question?
What was your question, Brad?
How is legalizing a vice a good idea? That was the question.
Oh, and the regulation. So anyway, look at what's going on in the illegal market today. Look at what's going on. All of this unregulated gaming going on in the state of Texas. You have no resources to shut it down. If you legalize it and consolidate it into a limited number of locations, then through our tax dollars and through the money that will be given through the tax dollars that we would generate, then it would give local and state law enforcement the opportunity to go in, to give them the resources they have to go in and shut down the illegal gaming today. So that's how you would shut that all down. Then you would have it in a limited number of locations after being approved by the voters in a very strict regulated environment.
It's a question from Kevin and Linda Wolliver. The question revolves around this project and some recent projects that were considered in the city, such as a residential condominium project by the Tom Thumb on Northgate and MacArthur. And the question is, and recently we had a consideration in the city for whether to approve funding for a new city hall. So the question is, have you considered having a local election, a referendum on casinos in Irving? As
right.
opposed, I'm sure the point is here, not just at the state level, but locally
right.
here in Irving.
So one of the things that has been discussed, and again, it's up to the legislature to determine determine what's in the joint resolution, and then the legislature will put through the rules and regulations. So one notion that some legislators believe in, and we don't have any say in how they want to do it, is that if a local government or county, when the constitutional amendment passes, one notion is that if a local government or county does not vote in the affirmative for constitutional gaming, then you would not be allowed to build a facility there. That is one notion. That is an option, and some people have discussed another local referendum. Those are all things that can be discussed through the legislative process.
So there's a few questions like this. We're here in the convention center, and just a few steps over is a music factory. What are the positives and negatives of competition just directly down the street for these facilities?
Right. So I think the benefit for that, as was evidenced in Bethlehem and in Singapore. So when we were building our properties in Bethlehem and also in Singapore, totally different models, there was always a concern, and there is this sort of myth out there, that you bring increased competition and then you suck the life out of what is existing. If you build something like this, a destination resort, why do you want to be in Irving and the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex? Well, when it comes to the convention and trade show business, which we're very good at, we house the largest conventions and trade shows in the world. There are conventions and trade shows that we bring to Las Vegas that fill every room on the Las Vegas Strip. We have our neighbors at Wynn and Treasure Island and Harrah's next door have full-time staff that were dedicated to just accommodating the guests that we bring in and would fill their hotels with. So what happens when you build these facilities, which was the concern in Bethlehem and the concern in Singapore, is that more visitation and more tourism increases. A rising tide lifts all boats. So in Singapore, for example, they were concerned that would impact the average daily rate and the existing hotel inventory and have a negative impact on the retail, the same concern for Bethlehem. All of those indicators went up. The existing businesses thrived. The visitation to Singapore increased. The amount of hotel rooms that were needed to be built to accommodate the increased visitation we brought to Singapore skyrocketed. Additional hotels were built in Bethlehem because of the increased visitation. So when you do it the right way, and you don't just do like a regional block casino, and you make something really spectacular that people want to visit, they will go, they'll come here for conventions and trade shows, and then they're going to want to go do other things. So one of the reasons that really motivates us to come to Texas is there are some conventions and trade shows that are so large, they have covenants that they have to go to a different city every other year. But because they're so big, they can go to Las Vegas, or they can go to Orlando. They're not interested so much in going to New York because they can't accommodate them. Chicago isn't attractive, some of them. So for the really big ones, they're between Las Vegas and Orlando, because also they're fun cities to be in, like Dallas is, and like Houston and San Antonio and Austin are. So the opportunity here is to grow the convention trade show market. So if we were to build on this facility, not only would this building thrive, but all of the businesses around here already existing and future businesses will benefit by the increased visitation we would bring.
Question from Gracie Connor. What studies or research has been done to examine cities where casinos have been brought in to determine 20 years out what have the consequences been for increases in human trafficking, drug and gambling addiction, blighted properties, mental health issues, adult entertainment businesses, billboards?
Billboards. I don't know. Billboards is a new one. So I think I've made it perfectly clear, and studies will show, and we can provide the studies, that it doesn't matter what. Now, it doesn't. All of the again. I want to address the notion of the question. I think the real question there is taking away the fact that obviously made it very clear that there are a lot of myths about what casino gaming will bring to the community. There is no statistical data that shows there's an increase of crime. The 1% to 2% of people with problem gaming is statistically done by peer reviews by government and non-government organizations, from the Treasury Department to the University of Massachusetts. It's study after study after study that shows all that is untrue, because a great employer with great pay and great benefits and increased tourism and increased visitation and increased economic vitality reduces crime. It doesn't increase it. You have to have a zero tolerance policy for crime. There is no advantage for us in the hospitality world to have a facility that has any hint of crime. When you come into our buildings, you need to feel safe, just like you do when you go into a Cowboys game, or you go to Disney World, or you go to Disneyland. There is nothing that is advantageous for us, for people to feel unsafe in our facilities. That is the pledge that we make. That is the way that we operate. So 20 years from now, there is no real impact. You will see increased economic vitality, no decaying buildings, but nothing but more economic prosperity as tourism and visitation increases in a community. We can make those all available. Happy to. I've got a whole binder of them. We'll provide them for you.
Question from Bridget Stotterher. Is it true that the Sands or related companies have spent more than $9 million in lobbying for gambling at the state level?
On lobbying? Yeah, probably.
How much has been spent approximately?
I don't know offhand, but that sounds like a good number.
Okay.
So it says Irving citizens recognize, this is from Dominic Doherty, the Irving citizens recognize that we have little say in whether the state of Texas legalizes gambling, but we want to say in whether it is approved in our city. Could you encourage the city council and zoning committee to ask their citizens, do we want this?
Right. So, the decision is all yours because you're going to vote on it. So it is not going to be passed unless you vote on it. And then this is the beginning of a public hearing process and a very transparent process. I'm standing before you here today with just a notional idea that we may spend billions of dollars here someday. But this is the democratic process at work. I'm glad to be a part of it. I respect the people that are opposed to it. Someday we'll continue to work with you. I respect everyone's opinion, but this is why we're here today, that we need to be transparent. Didn't have to be here, volunteered to be here at the request of you because it's important to you, because it's going to be in your district. I will do as many of these town hall meetings as needed to be done until people feel comfortable with us as a community partner. I did it in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, 800 people in a church, just as concerned as you are. And then 4 years later, after we were operating, there were so many people that were in the crowd, like all of you are, with very similar signs. They came up to say, you were a company of your word. You were a man of your word. Everything that you said you would do, you fulfilled, and you've become a great political partner. That's what we envision someday. But this is the beginning of a lengthy, transparent, democratic process to make sure that people feel comfortable.
A question from Linda Hutton. What other cities have been scouting the Sands to develop a similar destination resort, and why Irving, Texas?
Scouting us. I don't know that, I think there's a lot of different communities that we have engaged with that people talk to us about, but I don't think there's been any level of scouting or engagement like that with many of the casino operators at all at this stage.
This is from Sister Eleanor Gardner. Do the Sands resorts have spaces for religious worship? How have churches, synagogues, and mosques in the community responded to the presence of these resorts?
Oh, that's a great question. So, one of the nice things about the meeting convention space that we have, and also if you live in Las Vegas, you go to Green Valley Ranch or Red Rock, there are so many wonderful religious events that we host, not only, for a family event or weddings or things like that, but obviously the Adelson community is active in the Jewish community. We host, from fundraisers to religious events. We partner with a lot of those organizations and look forward to doing that. Oftentimes it's part of what we do charitably. It's part of what happens within the building in terms of the meeting convention space. So we have great relationships with the synagogues and the churches in Las Vegas and other communities in which we operate, and we embrace them.
A question from Vicki Norman. If the Irving City Council approves the zoning change, which would include a gaming component, will you use that to put pressure on the legislature in Austin to approve gaming?
No, it's just a notional idea now. It's a zoning change. We've never looked at it as in any strategic move at all. Just an opportunity for us to prepare the site for potential future development.
So a couple of questions, similar questions, but one from Bernadette Ward and then Matthew Malloy. They're asking, they feel like gambling is inconsistent with the culture of the surrounding areas of the monastery, the priory, the university, and churches within walking distance. And then one of them asked, would you pay to build a wall around all the University of Dallas and install security? But what would you do to help the community address its concerns?
Sure. I think this is the beginning of that process. I think we're just getting to know each other. We're trying to, you guys need to have more opportunities to meet with us. I look forward to meeting with all of those groups, from the monastery, all of them, to the University of Dallas. I hope that their door, I would hope, in the spirit of all that they represent and all that they do for the good of humanity and their commitment to their faith, that I look forward to spending time with them and letting them understand how we operate, letting them know how we take care of our employees, I can't wait to tell them about what the family does, taking care of wounded warriors. I can't wait to tell them how they can be partners and learn about what the Adelson family is doing to cure incurable diseases. I can't wait to talk to them about what we're doing to help people with problem gaming. I can't wait to have the opportunity to talk to them about how we will be beneficiary to them, how we can work together in the things that they believe in. If they are neighbors, they will become our partners, and we'll work together on things that we mutually agree upon.
A question from Thomas Kaiser. What is the Sands response to concerns that, if allowed to build a casino in Irving, that the Sands interests will dominate the decisions of local government at the expense of other local interests? Or can you name any existing city that has a large-scale destination resort that is not entirely focused in the local government on that resort? It's just another
development. You go through the process. The local government will be in charge. We've spent some time with the city of Irving officials. It's a remarkable city. You have a great city council. You have a great mayor. You have a great convention and visitors bureau. You have a fantastic chamber of commerce. This is not a city council that anybody could ever possibly roll over, nor will we ever try and do that. They are in charge. They have local control. We are simply a guest and a potential investor in the community. So we're just another developer in a long list of developers, but we are going to be beholden to the city of Irving and the leadership of this community, as well as to the people in this community and other community partners, and the neighbors of which we hope to operate near someday.
This is from Ann Devlin. How can you ensure that the short-term economic benefit of the rezoning won't have a greater long-term loss due to major companies no longer finding Irving to be a good location attractive to employees? We cannot lose McKesson and Caterpillar for gambling.
I don't think there's ever been a zoning change that has ever had any sort of impact on future economic development. The purpose of zoning changes is to encourage potential economic development. Once again, with all due respect, the premise of the question is just wrong.
From Felice Lagarde. Since gambling is not legal in Texas and has not been approved by the House or the Senate, why ask for that here?
Why ask what?
Why ask for gaming to be included in this zoning package?
Why are we doing it now?
Yeah.
Because we believe that someday it will happen. It may or may not happen. But we, as I said earlier, and I'll say it again, this is the beginning of a long process that if the legislature puts it on the ballot, if the voters approve it, if the enabling legislation is designed in a way that requires minimum investments, requires and puts forth a framework where only the best and the brightest operate, if the tax rate is done in the way, if we know that it will be matched the strict regulatory environments in which we are allowed to operate, if the zoning, let's be perfectly clear, if there was anything that the state of Texas did that does not meet the criteria of the strict regulation in the other jurisdictions in which we operate, we would not be able or be allowed to invest here. So the regulatory environment is very important. So I don't think I answered your repeat the question one more time for me.
If it's not legal now,
oh, right.
Why even ask for it?
Right. So we're here because, as we said, you have a lot of concerns. We're here to begin to address those concerns someday if it is legal. But we want to be able to demonstrate to the Texas Gaming Commission that we began our engagement with the communities in the spirit of transparency well before the legislature put the constitutional amendment on the ballot and before the voters approved it. So the reason we're here now is because I want you all to ask as many questions as you want, because this will only work if we are transparent and know that we can work together and we have the support of the community, the city council, and the leadership and the stakeholders in the community.
So Elena Blake asked, Jacko Booyens is the leading anti-human and sex trafficking organization in Irving in the country. How much money is the Sands, if you know, donated to this organization?
What was the group again?
I think it's called Jacobuyans.
I don't know. I do know that in the last couple weeks, some of the people in my team met with some local NGOs that give support to people that are victims of human trafficking. I'm not sure which ones my team met with, but the report back was, go see these groups as soon as possible. We need to be supportive of them. Maria Christina Lynn, who was supposed to be here tonight, but her flight was canceled because of the wind traveling in for this, was here. We're going to talk about that. We have a great relationship with one of these facilities in Austin. We kind of keep them anonymous. And she did meet with two of the facilities here locally. I don't know the name, but absolutely, we look forward to touring it, meeting them, because I understand the work that they do is exemplary.
From Mike Ahulian, the question is directed to let me ask it this way, how would this affect South Irving in particular?
How would it affect South Irving?
South Irving in particular, yes.
South Irving in particular? I don't know. It's hard to, I don't know how to answer that specifically, what the impacts would be. I would just say that, generally speaking, as I've said earlier, that this type of investment with the increased visitation and property tax revenue and money for schools and money for everyone, a rising tide lifts all boats. So the stronger that this location is and the more resources we provide to the city of Irving, it will benefit all elements of the city. If the person wants to reach out to me later and talk specifically about a concern about South Irving, happy to have a further discussion.
So Chris Malloy asks, why were over 100 arrested for prostitution at Venetian Macau owned by the Sands in 2010?
I'm not familiar with that, but I think that because the regulatory system and our law enforcement mechanisms work, it's a zero tolerance policy. So they were arrested because they were committing prostitution, and we had them arrested. That's the way it's supposed to work.
From Sarah Sikora, if the city council votes against gaming, will the Sands still invest in developing in Irving?
You know, it is just simply a zoning change at this point. So we're in negotiation with them. Obviously, we've invested money in the property. We're looking to invest in it and looking at all the options. So we haven't actually had that discussion.
Ashton Ellis asks if Hofstra University in Long Island, New York, is vigorously opposing a Sands Resort Casino, and they're joined by local schools, businesses, and officials. Why are you trying to force a community to accept you as a neighbor?
Right. The community support that we have, well, it's new there. They don't know who we are. And again, oftentimes, let's just be perfectly clear that a lot of the opposition, so there's simply two things that happen. One, over the course of time, the amount of community support that we have for our potential facility in Long Island is far greater than the opposition. And we've demonstrated that very clearly, as we'll demonstrate someday if we apply for a gaming license. Are there still some elements of people in Long Island that are opposed, as people have objected here today? Right, that's their right. Do we have far more support from community groups in Long Island for our facility? Yes. Are there some that are opposed? There certainly are, but there are far more in support of it than are against it.
Question from Ada Thomas. Given that the state has been unable to generate meaningful revenue from the lottery, why would casinos be any different?
I don't think that's true that the state doesn't have revenue from the lottery. That's just false.
And to that point, any expectation for what revenues will be generated for the benefit of the state?
Well, I think I went through some of the numbers. It's going to be billions of dollars of revenue over the course of time. It will be a huge source of revenue for the state of Texas, as well as city of Irving someday, potentially.
Tess Ellis asks if the Sands tries to build a casino on the same scale as its other casinos in Singapore and Macau, it will dominate the skyline and obstruct views in Irving if our community is not attracted by enormity, luxury, or opulence and indulgence, considering it dangerous, how will you accommodate the community?
Well, that's the beginning of this process. We've got to work with the local government. We've got to have local approvals. That's what the beginning of this process is with your zoning commission. We have to work with the city council. We have to work with them every day. We've got to work with neighbors. Whatever we build has to blend into the community. So, for example, when we bought, as I said, Singapore wanted something that was beautifully iconic. So we did something beautifully iconic. In Macau, they wanted something that was themed. So we built wonderfully themed facilities. Mark Bokenheid will tell you over here, he wants to make sure that whatever, he doesn't necessarily, themed products are maybe not something that are going to work here. He'd like to do something that is very unique, that blends into the culture of the local community. But again, that all demonstrates why local control drives the day. It will be the city of Irving that will help us guide our design and specs so that it blends in the community and has no negative impacts.
From Robert Tate Morrison, if you are only supportive of a bill that allows for 10 or fewer licenses, doesn't that mean less competition? Doesn't economics call that as an unfair market advantage?
No, because you'll be limited in the amount of licenses that you can apply for. So if there's 10 across the state, then there will be competitions in every, so there will probably be within the state, within let's just say Dallas alone, you can plan that there will be 10 or 15 or 10 or 15 companies, we'll say 10 for example, that will all be involved in a competitive bidding process. We may be in Irving, someone else will be in Plano, someone will be in Dallas, someone will be in Grand Prairie, someone will be in Fort Worth. They'll have all these people competing against each other, trying to figure out what the best investments are, comparing their responsible gaming programs to other people's responsible gaming programs, trying to determine who is best at preventing human trafficking, who has the best track record in stopping human trafficking. What have you done for your community? When COVID happened, did you lay off all of your employees? We didn't do that. That's the beauty of the competitive process. So if it's a limited number of resorts, you'll have the best and the brightest and the best legacy companies in the hospitality industry competing in each of the metroplexes and major areas. It will actually drive more competition because the limited number will be more coveted and more sought after and will drive a much better, cleaner, competitive process where only the best person wins.
The next question is really, it's maybe not for you, so maybe I'll try to help answer this, but I'm going to read it out to you at least. Lauren Ellis asks, if zoning votes no next week, will those no votes be kicked off the zoning committee and new members be put in until a yes vote is obtained? Is the zoning vote next week a final vote on zoning? And it asks, I guess P&Z members are appointed on a month-to-month basis. So
you're going to break, there's two rules that I've always had when I do these things. One, I'm not going to answer ever a question about the trade of Luca. Two, I'm not touching that question.
So I
can't imagine that happens.
Yeah, the zoning commission.
That is not a question for me, for sure.
In my view, would not be removed. I mean, they're free to vote as they want. And then city council pretty much always has the final say. And so nothing's ever final till it's final. So I don't know what's going to happen next week. We'll see. But we have some good commissioners on there, and however they vote, we always make up our own minds.
So, from Kathleen Andrulis, under what circumstances would the Sands not develop this land and instead sell it?
We just don't, we haven't had that sort of a discussion at all. It's nothing we've contemplated. We've obviously invested in the land. We're looking at it for long term, so that's just not something that we're considering right now.
So Flory Malloy asks, why did Sands agree to return $47 million to conclude an investigation regarding the casino's failure to alert authorities that a high-stakes gambler made numerous large and suspicious deposits with the casino?
That's not even remotely true.
From Mary Laurent, How do you respond when residents say that the casino clashes with our community's values or identity? Will you ignore the residents when they say that, or do you have data showing broad local support beyond paid consultants?
Right. I mean, again, that's why I'm here tonight. That whatever it is that we build has to blend into the community. We have to work with all of our local partners. And so the ability to win a license is going to be based on the ability that you've demonstrated that you've worked with your local community. I've said it repeatedly tonight. It will blend into the community. We'll be sure that it blends into the community. So that is just part of the process of which that we would abide by, and it's why I'm here tonight.
So it's asked, references have been made to gaming regulations, looking at Nevada as the gold standard of gaming regulation. Why has there been so many money laundering cases leading to multi-million-dollar fines to casinos?
Because it's a properly regulated environment, and we catch those things, and if there's a violation, there's consequences. That's the importance of regulation.
From Beatrice Laurent, what is the Sands exit strategy if the project fails? And how will you ensure that Irving is not left with a vacant property, increased debt, or reputational damage?
Yeah, it will not fail. The question is.
So this question is, why are you trying to homogenize the diverse communities that call Irving home, especially those that directly oppose gambling?
Could you say that one more time?
Why are you trying to homogenize the diverse communities that call Irving home, especially those that directly oppose gambling?
We're not. I don't even know I don't understand that question.
From John Burke, if the casino measure doesn't pass the legislature and the voters for the state, what will happen on the site in the next couple of years?
I think we addressed that. I mean, first of all, in the next couple of years, nothing is going to be passed, or there's no potential for development in the next couple of years. So clearly, this is a long-term investment. So the timelines are off. We're here. We're here. We're looking to develop it. We're looking to do site work. So obviously, there are some ideas that we have for the site, but the timeline of those that question is a little bit off.
How will you directly support the mom and pop businesses owned by diverse families in Irving?
Great. So again, a rising tide lifts all boats. The more people that we bring, the more visitation there is, the more people that are visiting the area, the greater the spillover effects. So if you go wherever there is properly built facilities, you can see that they're all surrounded by thriving businesses. It happens in Las Vegas, it happens in Bethlehem, it happens across the river from where I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and Council Bluffs, Iowa. So a rising tide lifts all boats. So more jobs, more economic opportunity, more visitation, more tourism only lifts the opportunities for those other businesses and helps them grow.
From James Bascom, if another developer wins a license to develop a destination luxury casino resort at the Choctaw Stadium site in Arlington, how will that affect your plans?
Well, I mean, that'd be the open competition. So the question is, if you don't win the license, you don't win the license. You're out of the game.
Here's kind of an existential question, it looks like. So if the Sands cares so deeply about employment, why do you support gambling on activity that takes money from or gives money to people without any merit or work? Building work ethics in the community is not enhanced with gambling. So
the premise of that question is just simply wrong. We're one of the most highly regarded employers in the world. As I said, kept everybody employed when we shut down during COVID. So the notion of that question is just wrong.
From Gabriel Malloy, the question, there's a concern that the Sands could try to exercise some right of eminent domain.
No.
Okay.
From Sarah Berry, given that Economists have found only modest increases to retail property values and no increases in residential property values. What financial support can Sands offer over and above tax revenues?
Well, it does increase home values. Making a thriving community that has better schools, better police protection, better hospitals, better infrastructure, increased visitation, all of those things that are driven by the property tax revenues that we generate and other taxes we generate, takes care of all those issues. Next question.
From, from Rachel Harold, my hometown of Toledo, Ohio, opened the Hollywood Casino 11 years ago, and now they lead the state in sex trafficking and drug use. My relatives who still live there say they are in shock at how sad people are inside the casino. This project has one aim to make the rich richer. What are your comments to that?
I just, again, stand by the comments I've made earlier. There are a lot of other issues in communities that we all face that need to be addressed in a better way all across the board. I can't speak to the situation in Toledo, Ohio at all. Don't know anything about it. I don't know what the problems are of Toledo, so I can't effectively address that question because I have no knowledge of what's going on there.
So another resident asked, why this particular location?
Because it's a very good location. It has plenty of land to develop, so you can build a lot of other things other than the destination resort, has good infrastructure, and is prime and is a great opportunity for development.
I don't have another one.
Have the city council members that have met with Sands been asked to sign NDAs? If so, why?
No.
For the record, I have not signed an NDA,
Yeah.
so.
For the record, when you meet with a city council member, it is public record. So.
Do you have any more?
Tim Glantz asks, I've chosen Irving as a city to move my family and 7 children and wife after living in a town that had casinos and hotels next to it and all that it brings. He says more negatives than positive. How does your proposal align with Irving's stated missions and visions?
Right. I think it fits right in with it. I've read some of the criteria for some of the local groups. And so in terms of the goals of the city of Irving, making a vibrant community, having good schools, having good roads, having good hospitals, good community college, a good education system, we blend right in with what those goals are because that's important to us. We operate and live and have our team members live in a thriving, wonderful, good community with good schools and good health care. So we absolutely would be partners in all those things, but that's very important to us. We would not want to operate in a community where those things were not part of the criteria of the community, which is very clear with the city of Irving. In the time we've been meeting with them, as we worked with your Chamber of Commerce, which is remarkable. I spoke to the Irving Business Council a couple of weeks ago. They were remarkable. I think that Irving is a shining gem of a city that wants to be as good as it can be, does a wonderful job, and that's why we are so interested in coming here.
Well, Mr. Aboud, we've gone through all the questions, and we have a little bit of time. So if people would want to make some statements, we're open to that.
I would like to, can I just make some sort of closing comments?
Please do.
One, thank you all for being here, those that have stayed and gone all the way through it. I just want to make a few personal observations. Our late founder, Sheldon Adelson, always said that what really motivated him was to try to accomplish something. And I think that's the opportunity in front of the city of Irving, a chance to do something big. I could speak for the next 2 hours or longer about why I'm so proud to work for the company I work for, about our history of building incredible one-of-a-kind properties with quality that is in a class by itself, about the incredible family friendliness of not just what we build, but how we operate, how we treat our employers, and how we treat the citizens in which the jurisdictions in which we operate. About our stellar track record of not just a good corporate citizen, but a great one, bringing wounded warriors to Las Vegas from burn centers in San Antonio and the Walter Reed Medical Center, for what the family does to treat incurable diseases, for what the family does to fight addiction, for what they do for so many different people across the world, and what all of our companies do in charitable endeavors and where we operate. Yeah, that's right. I could go on and on about my feelings and what we do and how we do it, but the truth is, you care about what it means for you and your community, as you demonstrated here tonight. What it means is thousands of new jobs, more tourism, seeing small business grow and thrive, and overall tremendous economic activity. It means more revenue for things like police, parks, street maintenance, healthcare, and better education programs for your school district. In other words, you care about projects like these because they make your life better. And that's why I thank the council member and the city for this opportunity to hear directly from us, and we've been able to hear directly from you. And we'll be doing this again over and over. There is absolutely no question that a project like this will bring massive benefits to this community for decades to come. And we want to work with you to prepare today for that bright future. So I thank you for the opportunity you've given me. I look forward to meeting with many of you again in the future. And just let this be known that this is the beginning of a long, thorough, transparent process of community engagement pledged to us by our company. Thank you. Do you want to, what do you want? You just have people. What do you want to do at this stage?
Yeah, I'm going to invite people to come here to the microphone. Please sit down. You've been up there a long time for this marathon session of questions. But as I said before at the beginning, there'll be opportunities for public statements at the P&Z meeting on Monday, the City Council meeting on Thursday. But if people want to come up for a minute at a time and make a statement while Mr. Aboud is here, then I'll invite people to come up here at these two microphones.
And please keep it to a minute, just so everybody who wants to speak can speak.
Let me see. When you come up, please give your name and address.
I'm Robert Hanson at 103 East Highland Drive in Irving, 75062. I very much appreciate your kindness in your answers. I appreciate the Muslim community for providing us some lovely dinners. I appreciate that. But I hear you over and over again saying, well, there are regulations and there are systems in place to prevent and capture the criminals and catch the malfeasance that's going on. Doesn't it just say that there's so much of that built into the whole gaming industry that they have to have so many systems to prevent this and to catch those people and to get the prostitutes out? I haven't seen prostitutes in my neighborhood. But what I have seen, I was gone from Irving for about 10 years, over 10 years, and I came back. I raised my family here, and I came back because I love this community, and it had radically changed. I noticed within a few days of having arrived back here that something was very different, and it took me a while to put my finger on it. All that had changed was the city of Irving had allowed alcohol to be sold in the city. And all of a sudden I'm seeing all sorts of problems that I never saw before in the community when I had been here before, and the only one change was the sale of alcohol. Doesn't gaming have so many more, so many more problems?
Thank you for your comments. I think I touched on a lot of those issues. Thank you for speaking your mind.
My name is Michelle Thomas, and I live on Scotland Drive in Irving, Texas. And my question is, I heard you talk about on several occasions of how that the casinos would not bring more crime and that it would enable us, and I'm paraphrasing that, enable us to be able to fight the illegal gambling. But I would like for you to explain to us really how legalizing gambling is going to help improve the problem of illegal gambling, other than you have legal addicts to gambling opposed to illegal ones.
Good. So I'm gonna take that comment and answer a question. It's such an important question, and thank you for answering that question. Because right now, the state of Texas and local authorities simply don't have the resources to shut all this illegal operation down. There are two groups, so they don't have the resources to do it. So part of what the enabling legislation would do and the Texas Gaming Commission do, and would be written, I believe, into the constitutional amendment, but part of the measure is that not only when gaming is legalized, will it be legalized, and revenue is generated from the casinos, not only is the state and the Gaming Commission obligated to regulate and grant the licenses, money generated from the increased revenue from the casinos must be dedicated to shutting down the illegal market, so that state and local authorities finally have the resources under one umbrella, one organized effort to shut all of that down.
Mr. Aboud has an interview to go to here in a few minutes, so we'll allow the folks here that are in line to come in and speak for a minute, and then we'll wrap up tonight.
And you're free to speak for less than a minute too, if you need.
Name and address, yeah.
Hi, my name is Austin Lemke. I'm from Garland. I have a question here for you. Given that the casino site, the proposed casino site, is so close, as many people have mentioned, to many religious communities in Irving, such as the Cistercian Abbey, do you personally believe that gambling is spiritually and psychologically healthy for human beings?
Great. Well, any form of entertainment that you enjoy gives you happiness. So yes, I do believe that it does make people happy. Related to the
is it healthy? Is it psychologically healthy?
I think
and spiritually healthy.
I think being happy is healthy.
Right.
And I think entertainment is healthy.
Next speaker, please.
My name is Deborah Goodman, and I live in Oeste in Irving. And my question is, have you done a SEPTED study on the location that you guys are planning on or trying to build a casino? Are you familiar with what a SEPTED study is? Where you can ask the police department to do a crime prevention through environmental design study?
Oh, it's a crime prevention study?
It's called, yeah, it's crime prevention.
Well, I mean,
the police department does a study called the Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design, and they pull up all the local data, what's already going on, and how this would affect that community, and how it would. Where do you have prostitutes right down the street?
No, I get it.
Have you done that?
Yeah, we would work with them on something
No,
like
but
that.
you've not done that.
Well, no, we don't even
Okay,
have a zone
all
for
right.
it yet.
That's
Correct.
my question.
Yep.
Next, please.
My name is Rais Bey, 2700 Almanzar Avenue, Irving, Texas. I've been in Irving since '99, so that's more than 25 years. A family of 4 expecting a daughter coming. And what's happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. But I want to thank you something. We'd like to thank you for the Muslims and for the Catholics to break fast today together.
Yes.
So that's an opportunity for us.
I know.
Number
Believe
one.
me.
Number two, back in 2004, the city united the Muslims and the Baptists for the alcohol ordinance when it was a dry city. Today, 2025, you're uniting the Muslims and the Catholic against gambling. Thank you again.
You bet. And I was to say, I've done many of these town hall meetings in my life, never before a crowd that had been fasting during my presentation. So I'm glad people got something to eat. The last thing I need is a group of hangry citizens.
Hello, my name is Nathan Joy. I live at 5244 Weiss Lane. I live within eyesight of your new development or potential development. You've talked a lot about how at your location, at the resort, you will control crime, human trafficking, and so forth. How can I be comfortable knowing that I live so close to that area that I'm going to have the same kind of crime prevention and protection going forward?
It will be the largest infusion of, because we want all of our patrons and everyone to feel safe. So, of course, when there is a large increase in visitation in any area, if you go to, it's like if you go to a high school football game, there's a police presence. If you go to a Cowboys game, there's a police presence. If you go to SMU game, there's a police presence. When there is an increase in traffic of people, you have to have an increase of law enforcement to make sure that everything is safe. That is what happens with a facility like this. We're no different than an amusement park or a professional sport. So the amount of law enforcement, they'll be there to make sure that people are safe, to make sure the traffic flows, to make sure that people feel safe, will actually, I think, as a neighbor, make you feel more comfortable. And I think you'll be very proud of the amount of law enforcement and security that will be provided.
Right, we got two more? One more.
My name is Chris Malloy, 1607 Live Oak. The NGISC reported a large increase in Gamblers Anonymous chapters from 650 in 1990 to 1,328 in 1998, which is a period of rapid increase in legalized gambling. By contrast, July 1st, 2000, South Carolina banned slot machines by court order. 6 months later, the number of Gamblers Anonymous groups dropped off from 32 to 11, and attendance fell from typical size of 40 to as few as 1 or 2. Bridwell and Quinn, 2002.
One final speaker, Father John Byer.
I'm sorry if this is a little speculative. You know, I love to study and pray, but I'm thinking that, you know, the definition of happiness could be something that we're not seeing eye to eye on. And, you know, I in my own life and, you know, personally and also just pastorally, I've met a lot of people who do things that feel good in the short term, but are really sad and miserable. I see lots of addiction with phones and gaming, all kinds of behaviors. And it just strikes me as I would find it difficult if you believe that happiness was simply doing something that in the moment felt good. And so I'm wondering, can you give us a vision of what you really think happiness is and why these kinds of addictive behaviors you think would actually contribute to it?
Right. What a beautiful, eloquent question, and I appreciate that. So, I mean, my idea of happiness is not only good health, and good health, not only good physical health, but good mental health. My idea of happiness is in a relationship with your family, that you nurture and care for each other, that you believe in things spiritually, if that is what motivates you, that you take care of each other in good times and in bad. I think happiness is all about good health. And I think that is something that we believe in so strongly. I appreciate so much your question, that our passion for good health and our belief in good health is demonstrated in the way the company operates. As I mentioned to you, Dr. Adelson has 2 drug rehab clinics that takes care of heroin addicts in Tel Aviv and Las Vegas. They have a medical foundation that is funded by hundreds of millions of dollars, seeking cures and funding the research for all of these incurable diseases that plague the world. And so what they learned when they were blessed with great wealth, and both of them really coming from very modest resources, what is the obligation? What do we do with the happiness that we have achieved through financial success? What is our obligation to humanity? What can we do that other people can't do? Well, we have a unique ability to focus on incurable diseases. And they went across the country and they went to all these different research institutions that focused on incurable diseases. And they saw that one university, let's say they're focusing on macular degeneration or ovarian cancer or Alzheimer's or cognitive disease, all these different universities would be doing research and would, when they got to a certain point, they would hoard their information because they needed that data to go to the next level of funding. What a crazy process that was. So they took a number of incurable diseases, 2 of which I mentioned, there's many more, and they went to all of those universities and they said, you're the best in cognitive decline, you're the best in macular degeneration, you're the best in fighting ovarian cancer, but you can't keep competing each other for dollars. So here's the deal. We fund your research. And then you need to meet with us, collaborate 4 times a year and share your data. And then when you have a breakthrough and you cure a disease, then you must share that data and you will all benefit from it. So happiness, when you achieve economic success or healthy success, is making sure that you share that with other people. I'm sure you agree, sir, to whom much has been given, much is required. That is in the DNA of the family. That is in the DNA of our company. So we believe that hospitality and having fun brings happiness. For those people that feel sad, that have drank too much, that have maybe gambled too much, because we care so much about happiness, we train our employees to spot all of those things and make sure that we take care of those people. We believe happiness in our employees makes happy guests. That's why we have the highest pay and benefits in everywhere we operate. That's why we kept everybody employed during COVID after everyone was laid off. So we absolutely share your belief in happiness, and it's something our entire job every day in the hospitality industry is to make sure that everyone that comes into our building is happy when they walk in and happy when they leave.
Thank you, Mr. Aboud. I really appreciate all your time in answering everybody's questions.
I think this was a lot of fun. Thanks for being here. Thank you all. We appreciate you very much.
So for everybody's here, we need to be out of here in 20 minutes for the next tenant to come in and get their space ready for tomorrow. So please exit, and thank you all for coming.